So I'm gay. I don't know if I needed to explain that. And if you've seen me before, I'm still gay. If anything, it's getting worse. And I'm completely gay as well. Like, I've never tried it any other way. I've never tried it with a woman. I'm a thoroughbred. I mean, really, I wouldn't know a vagina if it hit me in the face. I mean, how they do that? Have they got hands? I've never seen one. Though I have been twatted. And I realise I come up here and I talk and sound all posh, don't I? Probably quite intimidatingly so to you. But I'm not actually from a very posh family at all. I'm from a very ordinary family, and I went to a very ordinary comprehensive school, very ordinary. I know, isn't it moving? And I do think at school, like, they try and prepare you for life, don't they? I don't know how well they do it. Like, I remember at primary school, they used to try and prepare us for life by giving us assemblies every day. We'd have assembly every day, where we'd all be sat in the hall, on the floor, in rows, and then the teachers would be sat on the end of the rows on chairs because they were stronger. And then our head teacher, called Mr. Babbage, would come in, and he'd walk to the front, and he'd say, "Good morning, everybody." And then the whole school would go, "Good morning, Mr. Babbage," because they were all drunk. And then he'd read us a story, and it would always be a story about, like, how to make a soup out of stones. And I think Jesus was there somewhere. And there was always a moral, and the moral was always something like, be poor. And then after that, he'd sometimes read us a letter from Rapamundi, and Rapamundi was this girl, right, we were always raising money for in India. She would write us these letters about how dreadful her life was. And she did have an awful, dreadful life. But then she always found time to write. And then, after that, we'd always have a collection of postage stamps for guide dogs. I don't know who these guide dogs are writing to. And then eventually, when you've done enough of that, then you get to go, of course, to secondary school, don't you? Secondary school, and that's where you get to learn really interesting things at secondary school, isn't it? Like, you get to learn about novels in English, and you get to learn about fingering, and you get to learn about, like, proper grown-up maths, don't you? Or math, as they say in America, don't they? Math. But we do it more than once. And I remember learning things like Pythagoras' theorem. Do you remember that? Pythagoras' theorem. Do you remember that? Sohcahtoa. Do you remember that? Sohcahtoa. It's a thing. I'm not just having a stroke. Sohcahtoa means sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. I mean, now, as an adult, looking back, it would have been nice, wouldn't it, if they spent maybe half an hour, or even just like 10 minutes, really, just 10 minutes going, this is a pension scheme. This is how you fill in a tax return, and this is how you get over a broken heart, and this is how you tell an estate agent to fuck off.